Hi, this is lesson 3 of the adolescent series on mindfulness. Welcome back. We're going to begin with 5 mindful breaths with the Hoberman. So put your mindful bodies on, which means sitting upright, but not uptight. Feet are on the floor or feeling parts of you if you're seated. And eyes will be open, hands are on your lap. So let's begin. You can breathe in and out, and in and out. Now go ahead and say that to yourself as you breathe in and out. Focusing your attention on your in-breath, noticing how that feels as the air travels in. And then focusing your attention on your out-breath, noticing the path of airway. Each time you breathe in, you're bringing in fresh oxygen. And then when you breathe out, you're letting go of the old. All right, that's our opening. Last week we talked about mindfulness being this practice of trying to pay attention to the present moment with patience and kindness and curiosity. And we do that because stress lives in the past and in the future. So we tend to just get dragged around by our minds and our emotions into remembering things that have already happened or worrying about things that are going to happen. So mindfulness is this active training of continually bringing our attention back to the moment. And we just do that over and over and over again. So when we're learning, we do it in our practice. But maybe this will seep out into the rest of your day and you start noticing how caught up you can get. And so then you realize, oh, I can let go of that. I can just pay attention to my breath. So last week we learned about our anchor breath. That's the area or parts of our body that we can best feel our breath, such as maybe our belly, or maybe our chest, or maybe our nose with the air, the breath coming in and out. Some of us might be really hard to focus on our breath for whatever reason, and so we find anchors in our feet, like noticing the sensations in our feet, or noticing our hands in our lap, or even feeling our hand on our belly, or feeling our hand on our chest. Only you can determine that, only you can figure out where you can best focus your attention as you do this active practice of mindfulness. So that's what we did learn from last week. I hope that some of you or many of you remember to practice each day. It's important that you find a time and a place and just to sit and to breathe. Maybe it's just 5 mindful breaths. Just doing that throughout your day really makes a difference in your brain. So we are going to talk today about our brain and really the whole point of why we even bother with mindfulness. We know that the science of mindfulness has been studied for 30 years or more now. With adolescents, a little shorter amount of time, but we're finding the same thing, that when you practice mindfulness, it changes your brain. It rewires your brain, which is a really, really cool and exciting thing for all of us to know that just because we have a situation happening or a pattern happening doesn't mean it's going to always happen. It means we could change it by doing and practicing some healthy habits and learning some new tools. So we're going to talk about your brain today and why it's so important. So we're going to begin with, I'm going to use a hand model because I realize my poster that I like to use, when I hold it up to the video, it's all backwards, and so you wouldn't be able to read it. So this hand, imagine this is my brain. And if I turn it sideways, it's like a sideways focus of my brain. So we're going to start with these fingers. And if you want, you can hold your hand up along with me so it can help you remember. So these fingers wrapped here is called the prefrontal cortex. Try that. Prefrontal cortex. So this is the part of our brain that is like our CEO. It's the part of our brain that's the most evolved. It's located in our real head right here behind our forehead. It's the last part of our brain that has developed for humans, and it is responsible for higher level learning, thinking, decision making, comparing, contrasting, problem solving, all of the things that you need to do at school and throughout your day in order to make wise choices and decide answers that you need to figure out and solve problems. So when we are calm and life is kind of going along really good for us and we're happy and laid back, we are able to access our prefrontal cortex, which is awesome. So a lot of the time, probably we can do that. But we do have a safety mechanism in our brain left over from way, way, way long time ago with prehistoric man. It's what kept us alive and allowed us to evolve into who we are today. And that part of our brain is called the amygdala, which is going to be my thumbnail here. Amygdala. So the amygdala is the home of the fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain. And what that means is that when the amygdala or the body detects that there's danger around, we will flip our lid and our amygdala will take over. Our amygdala is a reactive response. It reacts. So the only way it does react is fight, flight, or freeze. And so when we are triggered, when we have strong emotions, when we're really worried or upset, our amygdala takes over. We flip our lid. We no longer have this wise part of our brain that's making decisions and helping us out. Instead, we have this amygdala. And again, it can fight physically or fight with our words, or it can run, the flight part, or we can run away, or we could freeze, which is like deer in the headlight. And we've all had that kind of a feeling before as well. So we've all had all of these reactions because it's just what humans are programmed to do to keep us safe and alive. Now, it's good to notice that amygdala because it does signal danger. However, today we don't really have the kinds of dangers often that the amygdala detects. So what we try to learn to do with mindfulness is when we flip our lid, when we notice ourselves getting all worked up and worried, and we say things we wish we wouldn't have, or we do things we wish we wouldn't have, or we can't let go of something that we're just so worried about, we just rehash it over and over, or we're so embarrassed about something that we did that we can't let go of that, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, we believe all these stories that are in our head. So when we realize ourselves caught up into a pattern like that, then we can breathe using what we've learned so far is the Hoberman, breathing in and breathing out. There's a number of ways we can breathe, which we'll learn in this series to help calm us. Once we've done that, our prefrontal cortex comes back online. Our amygdala feels soothed again, and we can go about our business. So we have the prefrontal wise leader, we have the security guard here, the amygdala, and then there's one other part of our brain that we study with mindfulness that affects us too, and that would be what's called the hippocampus. So we're going to use this right here. The hippocampus is just a little bit up and located away from the amygdala, and that is our memory storage area. So again, when we're calm and happy and things are going our way and we're not upset, we're able to go ahead and retrieve information that we have stored. Time when this is most important to know about is if you are test taking or you have a performance coming up of any kind, whether it be athletics or you're in the orchestra or band or choir or you're a dancer or you have to take a test, you have to stand up in front of people and talk. Anytime those kinds of things happen, many of us tune into fear. Our amygdala takes over, we flip our lid. Now, once we've done that, not only can we not access our decision-making part of our brain, but also out the window goes our hippocampus, where we retrieve memory. And I imagine a lot of us have had this idea or this time when you studied for a test, you're ready to take that test, and you get to the test and your mind is blank. It's like, oh my gosh, I forgot it. What happened to all that information that I've studied? And then you panic even more because you've forgotten it. And what are you going to do? You might fail the test. And we just jump to all of these horrible conclusions. That's because the amygdala thinks we're in danger. We have flipped our lid, and its only reactionary things that happen are fight, flight, or freeze. We have now kind of taken away that memory retrieval piece. So we really are stuck. And it does cascade and snowball if we don't know what to do. Mindfulness calms the amygdala as we breathe in and we breathe out. And mindfulness also will help bring back the hippocampus so that we can access our memory that we're ready for. It's a beautiful thing to know why we react the way we do. And to know that if we just simply can learn how to breathe mindfully, we can bring ourselves back online and move about our day. This is a really handy thing to practice, let's say before we have an event that is causing us stress. So I'd like to show you another breathing, which has to do with 5-finger breathing. This is kind of like another anchor. We focus on our breath as an anchor, and maybe belly, chest, or nose, because that helps us kind of double down and train and focus even more. Take our mind into the present instead of carried away with past and future worries and thinking and things like that. So how this works, if you hold your hand up just to learn, you'll have your 5 fingers, you'll have your pointer, and you simply work with breathing in as you trace up and breathing out as you go down. Breathing in, breathing out, in, out. Notice that I am tracing so I can actually feel what it feels like on my fingers. It's a little tickly in a way, but also feels really smooth. And once I've done that, I usually do it twice. So I begin. I can also add more anchors like breathing in, breathing out, in, out. Usually a couple times through, or 10 breaths of in and out and focusing will calm us enough for us to move forward, will calm us enough to bring back our hippocampus so when we're taking our tests we can bring all that information back. It will calm us even in that short amount of breaths to allow us to move forward. Now the trick is that we don't want to wait for emergencies in order to bring this forward and hope that it works. Instead, it's a lot like weightlifting, where if you practice weightlifting, you don't start right away with a 20-pound weight. You might start with a 5-pound weight. And if you do it a lot, your muscles will gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger, which is what we're trying to do to build our strength, right? So our brain is very much like that. If we wait for emergencies to bring out this skill, it may work, but it may not work that well. The more you practice it every day, whether you practice with, let's say, a Hoberman, or you practice with your 5-finger breathing. The more you practice that, the stronger you're able to tune in with your attention, the easier it is to calm that amygdala and bring yourself back online. And so that really is why we practice mindfulness. We practice to build up that brain muscle, that mind muscle, that attention muscle. We practice so we can learn to soothe our worried brains, our emotional self. And all of those things are so beneficial. And we can do this anytime, anywhere, any place. So to review, we have our anchor breath that helps us focus, get us away from our mind, away from these strong emotions, back to our breath. We also have our anchor as in our feet or our hands. We also have breathing that we can do that anchor us even further. So all of these are tools at the very beginning when we learn to practice mindfulness that are really, really helpful. I want to close with listening to the bell again, and let's just practice a couple minutes of breathing mindfully. So your mindful bodies, we're sitting upright but not uptight. Hands resting in your lap. Feel your feet on the floor, or if you're sitting cross-legged, feel your parts of your body that are touching the bed. Close your eyes and get ready to focus on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Placing your hand on your belly or chest, feeling your feet or seat on the surface, allowing your breath to come in and come out just as you know how to do breath. No need to change it, just notice it. Almost as if you were an observer sitting on your shoulder and just watching you and your breath. You can say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, allowing your breath to just breathe in and out. Perhaps you might notice it as soothing, or like the waves on the ocean, breathing in and breathing out. Finding calm and peace. Allowing your brain to come back online, be integrated. Allowing your shoulders to relax, your face to relax. Just taking this brief time for yourself. If you notice that your thoughts are dragging your attention away like they often do, just notice that and bring your attention back to your breath, back to your anchor. And we do that over and over again, training our mind, bringing calm and peace and balance. You can finish by putting your hand on your heart if you feel comfortable doing that, allowing the warmth of your hand to settle in, to savor this feeling of support and warmth, and savoring yourself and who you are. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into the room. And you can move around and continue on through your day. I invite you to continue this practice every day, finding your time and your place. Remembering you could always do 5-finger breathing anywhere, anytime. You don't have to have your hand up. You can just simply have it on your lap and trace, or feel your fingers. Or you can just breathe. 5 breaths in, 5 breaths out. So many variations, so many possibilities. Thanks for being with me today. Have a good day.